You know, for the first time in over half a century, America is getting really serious about going back to the moon. But here's the twist. The person helping guide this mission? He's not some career NASA official. He's a billionaire who dropped out of high school, a world record-setting pilot, and a commercial astronaut. So you gotta ask, who is this guy?
That guy is Jared Isaacman. And yeah, he's been brought in to inject a dose of private sector urgency into NASA's most ambitious project in a generation. The big question, the one we're diving into today, is this. Can his incredibly unique resume actually kickstart a program that, let's be honest, has felt a little stuck in low gear?
So to really understand his plan for NASA, you first have to understand the man himself. And trust me, his background is anything but traditional. We're talking about a journey that goes from fintech to fighter jets, all the way to commanding the very first all-civilian mission into orbit.
I mean, just look at this trajectory. It is absolutely wild. He drops out of high school at 16 to start a payments company in his basement. That company is now worth billions. He then pours that success into his passion for flying, setting a crazy world record for circling the entire globe. From there, he found his own private air force. We'll get to that in a second. And then he commands Inspiration 4, the first ever mission to orbit with only civilians on board. It's just this insane vertical climb. And now he's advising NASA on how to get back to the moon.
So about that private air force, this is Draken International. And to really get where Isaacman is coming from, you have to understand this company. He literally bought over 100 fighter jets and created one of the world's biggest private air forces. And what do? Well, their mission is to be the professional bad guys for the US military. They act as the adversary, the competition, to make America's best pilots even better. It's essentially Top Gun as a service. Think about that mindset. It's all about high stakes, peak performance, and absolute precision.
So why would a billionaire who's already been to space take on the headache of government bureaucracy? Well, for Isaacman, this is personal. He sees his own story as a product of the American dream, and he feels a deep duty to give back. He sees this role as his way of repaying a debt to the nation that gave him his shot.
All right, so we know the man. Now let's talk about the mission. What kind of challenge is he walking into? In his own words, the agency that once raced to the moon has simply lost its muscle memory.
And let's start with the money, because, wow, we're talking about $100 billion. That's the estimated price tag for the Artemis program so far. With that kind of investment, you can imagine the pressure to deliver is, well, immense.
And this chart right here, this really gets to the heart of that lost muscle memory problem. Back in the Apollo era, they were launching missions every 4 months. It was a rhythm. It was constant. Now, the gap between the uncrewed Artemis 1 and the crewed Artemis 2 is looking like 42 months. That's 3.5 years. Think about what happens in that time. People retire. Skills get rusty. That critical momentum just evaporates.
So Isaacman's diagnosis points to a system-wide issue. It's not just the slow launch schedule. It's the loss of that competitive fire that defined Apollo. It's the tendency to get distracted by side quests that pull focus from the main goal. It's the fact that there are too few contractors, which means less competition and innovation. And frankly, it's a culture where accountability hasn't always been front and center. The whole system has just lost its edge.
Okay, so that's a pretty tough diagnosis. So what's the cure? Isaacman's plan is all about reigniting that race. But this time, the goal is completely different and way more ambitious.
And this quote, which has become the new mantra, says it all. We are not going back for the rocks and flags. We are doing this to build a moon base. That one sentence changes everything. This isn't just about a visit anymore. This is about establishing a permanent human presence on another world. This really is a fundamental shift in thinking. The focus is moving from flags and footprints to a permanent base. From one-off, incredibly expensive government missions to fostering a sustainable lunar economy built on public-private partnerships. The goal is no longer just a visit, it's to stay. So here's the game plan to get it done. First, ramp up the launch schedule to every 10 months. That's how you rebuild that lost muscle memory. Next, and this is really smart, add a critical test mission in 2027 to fully vet the landers and the spacesuits in Earth orbit. It's a full dress rehearsal before the main event. This de-risks the whole thing, which then allows you to create 2 separate shots on goal to land on the moon in 2028, effectively doubling the chances of success.
But really, this isn't just about getting back to the moon. The moon is actually the stepping stone. It's the proving ground for building a true, self-sustaining economy in space. So what does a lunar economy even look like? Well, the #1 priority is mining water ice from the poles. Why? Because you can split water into hydrogen and oxygen. That gives you breathable air, sure, but more importantly, it gives you rocket fuel. The moon becomes a cosmic gas station, a critical pit stop for future missions to Mars. It also becomes a testbed for resource extraction, freeing up NASA to focus on the really hard stuff that industry can't do yet, like developing nuclear propulsion.
When you strip away all the technical jargon and the economic plans, though, the vision is deeply human. The whole point of all of this, the ultimate goal, is to get more people living and working off-planet. That's how we finally become a true spacefaring civilization.
As Isaacman puts it, this is the start of the greatest adventure we've ever undertaken. We are just on step 1. It's a powerful reminder of the sheer scale of what's being attempted here. All of this, it's just the beginning. Which brings us right back to the pilot, the man who built his career creating elite teams that thrive under pressure. Now he's helping to steer one of humanity's greatest adventures. So the question is, can he give NASA its own Top Gun moment and finally help us reclaim the sci-fi future we've all been waiting for?